my grandson was pretty much we were together, living together for about 2 years, bought a house, got married, and 6 months later, filed for divorce.
Ready to start?
She's on to
One screen and everything? Good.
I think she's got a
Then I will call this March 11th, 2025 regular meeting of the Knox County Commission to order. All the commissioners are here, and the first thing we usually do is ask for public comment. Is there anybody here who would like to address the commission? And seeing as there's no one, then we will end the public comment. And we do have something sort of new on our agenda, which is commission updates. Are there any commissioners who would like to update the commission or the public on what's been going on in their world?
I'll say a few things.
Please.
Okay.
It makes no sense for us to do this if you don't say something.
I understand.
Good.
This has been, as everybody knows, there's been a lot of work to work on the call center to make sure that things are working well there. And as we progress to keep it staffed and everything, there's been a lot of help from a lot of other probably the fire departments, police departments, and have all chipped in to help us keep it staffed. You know, we've not had to go to Waldo County for extra staffing. A lot of people have chipped in and helped. And what the county administrator and I have been doing is keeping all of the different departments, all the stakeholders apprised of what's going on, when it's going on, so there are no surprises. I had coffee this morning with Jesse Thompson, who's the chair of the which commission is he?
Executive board.
Executive board. I had coffee with him this morning to update him. I talked to Chris Wytock this morning. I talked to Randy Gagnon this morning. I talked to Chris Farley this morning, and texted with Tim Carroll. And that's been a process trying to make sure that all of the people that need to know what's going on, know that we've staffed, know that we've taken care of a bunch of different things. I think the county administrator can make some more comments about what we've been doing, but it's all been, there've been a lot of people involved and very helpful, and so far so good. And the other thing, I was at the airport APAC meeting yesterday, and I noticed that Jacob's here, and we'll have some, the airport manager will have a bunch of comments, but it was a good meeting yesterday. They're working on filling their board and filling seats that need to be seated, and everything seems to be going quite well there. So those are the things I've been involved with. And it's been invigorating and interesting and challenging, and we're moving forward, which is good. I think that's what I have to say.
Great, thank you. Do you have anything you'd like to
Sure.
chime in on?
Sure. I'll just mention that I have had a chance to go to a couple of Board of Selectmen meetings in my district, one in Warren and then one in Washington. And the goal was both to introduce myself to folks and make sure that they had a direct connection to the county, and also just to give an update on what was happening with the call center and make sure that everyone was connected to information. And it was a great meeting in Warren, and it was really nice to go to Washington. The fire chief was there, as long as the most recent past fire chief, and they are getting the updates, and they're happy to be getting those updates. And they, one of them said, I think it was a former fire chief, said, I've been hearing really good things about what's going on at the county lately. So that felt good and positive. So I feel like we have some good positive momentum right now, and I know we're folks are working really hard to keep that momentum going. So I just wanted to share that positive feedback. And also, Amber, Christy, and I met with Matt, please, his last, sorry, Edie, thank you, from the Mid-Coast Council of Governments, and had a nice meeting learning about the options for strategic planning for the county. And I'm sure Amber's going to talk a little bit about that, but it was great to hear about what they've been doing with other counties and how just deeply connected they are in communities all over the region, and I think could help us do some good work. So that was a really productive meeting.
Great.
That's it.
One other thing
Sure.
I'll add is County Administrator Christie has been working very hard. We talked 4 or 5 times every day for, it seems like, years now. I don't know when she sleeps, and I'm sure that will happen eventually, but she's been working pretty much 24 hours on all these circumstances, and I feel bad. She's worked so hard on the call center, and I know she goes there every day, and I don't know when she's doing any of her other work, and but very thankful she's been involved as she has been.
Okay.
That's what I've got.
And in meetings that I've gone to in the last week, the Maine County Commissioners Association has a legislative committee that talks about what's in front of the state legislature, and almost all of them have to do with funding, either for the jail or for other projects. And we do have an attorney on a lobbyist on retainer who goes and talks to the legislature and writes position papers up for them. And it's not going to make a whit of difference because they only have so much money, and it's going to be less money. And the odds are pretty good they're not going to give away any more money, but we still like to go there and let our voice be known representing the counties. Another meeting I went to was because I'm a member of the Coastal Communities Workforce Board, which basically takes federal money and retrains people for jobs in the coastal communities all the way down to York County and back up. That's another case where what they do is they administer federal grants, workforce grants, which unfortunately may be drying up. So this whole organization is sort of at wit's end exactly what's going to happen in the next year or so. But we'll see, because they do good things.
Yeah.
You know, they contract throughout the whole coastal communities and retrain people or get people the extra training that they need to become part of the workforce. But we'll see what happens with them. There.
That's good.
Anything else? If there's nothing else, the next thing on the agenda is the consent items. And the consent items are this agenda, the minutes of the regular commission meeting from February 18th, the minutes of the special commission meeting from February 24th, all the department reports, the warrants, and the reserve withdrawals. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion we approve the consent items.
Second.
And a second. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Once again, I'd like to thank the departments for their reports. I think I made the observation last month, and it's happened again this month, that it's good to get a nice report from the GIS. That's new since that's split off into the administration. I think that's good. And there was also quite a nice long report from the airport. Yeah.
Always.
I just spoke to the head of the GIS and met her outside the meeting before the meeting started, and thanked her for it, because there's so much there I don't understand, and I'm glad somebody else does.
Yes. She writes in code, you know, all these little letters and all that stuff.
I would love to also add that the GIS department is a really, in some ways, kind of a unique thing within county government, and I think it is unique statewide. I don't think any other county has that position. And it's a great service that we can offer to our towns. And I think it's a model for other things that we could do at the county. So it's really fantastic.
But I noticed in the report, there are like 7 or 8 different functions with different towns, all different, that they're working on. It's rather daunting, the amount of work that's going on there.
Yeah.
So it's pretty great.
Yes.
And once again, the finance report was good to get all that, so we could read through those too. And any reports we got. And I think there's probably a few that we haven't gotten yet that will eventually show up.
Yeah.
But other than that, any other conversation on the consent items? Seeing as there's none, all those in favor? 3 in favor, none opposed. Next item are our action items. An act to award the bid for the 2025 tax anticipation note, the TAN. Do we need any discussion on this?
I don't know that much about it.
Oh, then
I would
okay.
like to know.
Kathy, would you be willing to explain TANs to us?
Sure.
Thank you.
So every year, other than one of the years during COVID, we go out to get a loan, a tax anticipation note, to get us through until our tax money comes in. So any year, we may start borrowing anywhere from February to April. We borrow as needed, and then as we have funds that are coming in, if we have a little extra money, we'll pay back the money we borrowed, and it'll be just a revolving account. We do have some variables as far as money coming our way. For instance, the airport, we still have quite a few airport projects that still owe us money, and based on timing of the projects, closeouts, FAA, state, that's always a differential for us every year as to how much money will be outsourced before it comes in. Also included in that is different grants that sometimes we're putting out large sums of money before we actually get it in. So the TAN helps with all of that. Our current bank, Machias, is next to the lowest bidder, and I say that tentatively because the lowest bidder was at 4.99 and Machias was at 5.02, but the lowest bidder also required us to have a deposit account with them. Based on that small little differential between the two interest rates, it made sense to go with the bank that we currently have versus having to open another account and start another relationship with a different bank.
How long have we had the relationship with
Machias? That's a great question. I would say probably the last 8 years. And I can't say enough good things about them and their customer service and their response time when there's ever issues. The amount of free services that we get from them within our contract that with other banks we would have had to pay for, which include anything from our checks to our deposit slips to different security measures that are offered through Machias that with our contract we're not paying for, but there may be other customers of theirs that are paying for those services.
Then it makes perfect sense to stay with them and not, there's reasons not to always go with the lowest bidder just because of the lowest bidder, and that makes perfect sense.
And even the ease of transferring money with the bank that we currently have, not that that would be the determining factor, but that's definitely a benefit of going with the bank we have.
And you'll notice all the pens up at the finance office say Machias on them.
The water cups we get, and Machias actually does give us items to give to employees when we do wellness packages, and our new employee packages do have some swag in there from Machias. So
it's good to, a lot of people, I like to ask questions so that people understand there are good reasons for the work that we do and the work that you do and who you do it with. So that's good. Thank you.
Kathy, do you have a sense annually how much we end up paying in interest for this? Just out of curiosity. You don't have to answer this right now, but
what I can do is I actually have a, I'll say spreadsheet that has the last X amount of years that I can send out just for your information.
Okay.
But it really depends on what our flow is. So there's
Sure.
really not,
Yeah.
I can't say there's ever a consistency there.
Yeah.
We try to, as a county, any of our big ticket items that we have to pay annually, or let's say share of vehicles that we buy annually. We try to push that off to the fall so that our cash flow is stronger at that point, our tax money's coming in. But some years, there's things that we can't do that, so we're spending money sooner than later. So it's never consistent.
And one last question.
Sure.
Are there any federal dollars that you're waiting on, that you're concerned about in the current climate, that would be paid in advance with this?
I am concerned with all that is going on as far as the grant funding.
Yeah.
I haven't received anything directly stating that's something that we have already spent that we're not going to get reimbursed. I am a little concerned of projections that we may have made as far as what we will get for funding and grants that may not come through,
Yeah.
but time will tell on that.
Okay.
Just a sort of a philosophical question or an economic question. Why does it make sense to have a TAN rather than dip into our reserve accounts?
Reserves are specifically earmarked for projects or services, so they're not set up to be a funding source. Plus, our reserves wouldn't cover what we need for cash flow. I will say there have been some years when we may have borrowed a little bit from a specific reserve, let's say contingency, to get us through if our TAN was not meeting our requirements or we didn't have enough and there was a lot going on at that time. But it's not a practice.
Yeah. One last comment. I'd like to thank you and your department, because I understand that as we rebuild the call center, your departments had to step in and do some above and beyond kind of work with all the people involved. So thank you for that.
Thank you. That's just part of what we do. That's
But it's
the ebb and flow of the work.
anytime we have to cause anybody extra work, I like to make sure that we thank. And you've had to do a lot, so thank you.
Thank you for saying that.
Yes, I think we've seen that over the last, 2.5 years, of every department has risen to the occasion, whatever the occasion is. Yes, and thank you. Anything else? If not, we'll call the vote. All those in favor?
Did we make a motion on this?
Oh, did we make a motion?
I don't think we made a motion.
Well, then make a motion.
I will move to pass the motion to approve the act to award the bid for the 2025 tax anticipation note.
I will second.
Any further discussion? Seeing as there's none, all those in favor? 3 in favor, none opposed. Let's make sure we get this one on right. The next one is an act to approve the partnership between Knox County Regional Airport and Park Mobile for airport parking management, and authorize the airport manager to execute the necessary agreements to implement the system. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Magically.
Logan? Yeah, so Park Mobile, this is nothing that's going to cost the airport any money. There's no upfront startup fees or anything like that. Most of what they do is they provide this adequate signage for us. They provide us the data of how much we're actually getting, and they provide avenues for the user to pay. So, sir, did you have a question?
No, keep going.
The airport charges $6 overnight parking as it stands. If the user decides to pay through Park Mobile, that will be a 90-cent increase to the parking, and that's where Park Mobile gets their money from. Now, Park Mobile operates off of a study that shows that when you have adequate signage, 98% of the users will comply with the parking regulations, and that's where they see their big revenue coming. So with their projections on our facility, they're expecting to, they claim, double our parking revenue. And while I'm still skeptical that it might be double, it's not going to cost us anything to give it a shot.
And so there's no gate or anything. This is just basically you pull in, you see a sign, and it says you have to pay.
Yes, sir.
And you either pay or you don't, but most people will pay.
Yes, sir. So we're still going to have the aesthetic that we have now, there's not going to be a drop-down bar or anything like that. There's no law enforcement officer out there waiting for you to get out of your car or anything like that. This is mainly just a way for us to remove some of the labor that is on the airport employees.
And I have noticed a few times that I have been to the airport and parked for an hour or so, I get an overnight ticket. That's going to be removed by this, basically.
This should cut down on that significantly.
You don't get an enforcement letter. All that happens is they just assume that you're going to pay for as many nights as you're there.
Yes, it'll be a sign just saying pay for parking, and then it'll ask how many days you're staying. But again, the parking will be overnight parking, not hourly or anything like that. So unless you're there overnight, you shouldn't be billed or asked to pay.
Other questions?
Just make a comment, it was covered extensively at the APAC meeting yesterday, and they were all in support of it, and it makes a lot of sense because it cuts down on, we make more money, cuts down on what work the staff has to do. I could see no reason not to continue this, and I've known in going to different cities and different towns, parking by using those services, Park Mobile or some of the other ones, is incredibly convenient and helpful. And I recommend the selection of Park Mobile via some other choices. Sounds like a great company to go with and a great selection.
Sounds to me like city parking. Like, when you're in the city and you park in a zone and you have your app and you pay.
Yeah.
And so it sounds like kind of a similar process that most people will be familiar with doing. Yeah.
Anything else?
Make a motion that we...
It's been moved.
Oh, that's right. Then let's call the vote.
All those in favor? 3 in favor, none opposed. The next item is an act to authorize the airport manager to sign a cooperative service agreement between Knox County Regional Airport and the United States Department of Agriculture Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service, APHIS, and the Wildlife Service, WS. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded.
The airport has taken steps over the last couple months to resolve the wildlife issues that we have now. And although we have seen an improvement, this is a just-in-case measure that won't cost us anything unless we activate it. So this is pretty typical. I would say that most airports have this, at least all of those that I'm familiar with. And this just says, it's something in writing that says if I need the Department of Agriculture to come in there and take care of the wildlife, they can come down in a night, they pick a day, they'll come down, they'll set up cameras, and they'll do their wildlife removal process, and then send us the bill up to a certain amount of, the bill is up to a certain amount, but if we don't make that call and we don't activate that service, then there's no fee to the airport. So it's just better to have and not need than need and not have.
And this gets rid of the snakes and crocodiles that are in the ditches all the way around the airport?
This is mainly focused on deer and beaver and coyotes.
What's the historical, obviously wildlife's incredibly dangerous to aircraft. What's the historical situation been there?
We have had multiple deer sightings on the airfield. Maine is restricted by the Inland Fisheries and Wildlife. For Maine, they limit us in our permit. They say, okay, only these people can be added to the wildlife removal permit. Only these types of firearms can be used. Only these types of animals can be taken. You can only have this much, things like that. The wildlife removal responsibility is placed on the airport maintenance department, which is already very, 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 very busy. They have a lot going on.
Right.
And doing similar work like that as a former airport operations agent, I can tell you that it's improbable that you would have the time to spend in your day to go sit out there and wait for a deer to show up, as opposed to when you see a deer, well, then you hop in the truck and cut your flashing lights on, get on the radio and call. By the time you get there and set up with a firearm, the deer's gone.
Do you foresee any chance that you'll need to authorize the federal people?
I'm hoping not. We have taken steps to kind of improve our wildlife situation with if you recall, a recent assistant airport maintenance position that was approved. That position has been filled by a wildlife removal expert. While he, isn't authorized or capable of driving the heavy machinery or doing the other snow removal stuff that's asked of maintenance, he is authorized to come in and do wildlife removal. So that person is very, very skilled and has 20 years of removal experience, and we're very confident in his ability.
And the last question I would have is, with everything that's going, do we know that the United States Department of Agricultural, Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service and Wildlife Service will continue to exist?
I'm sure that they will. I would be very, very shocked if they.
Okay. Worry about, but it's good that we have somebody that can handle it well ourselves. That's good to know.
I just love the image of a control tower / deer stand. Out there someplace. What great, yeah. Anything else?
No.
All those in favor? 3 in favor, none opposed. The next one is an act to approve and authorize the county administrator to sign the Declaration of Covenant and, am I in the right place?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, okay. And restrictions for the Knox County Regional Airport property. Yeah.
Say this or what you read to me.
Go for it. A better spiel than I do.
So back in 1995, the airport purchased a parcel of land. It was up to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers to implement wetland deed restrictions on this land, just saying nothing can be built on this, you can't have construction, it has to be preserved for wildlife purposes. We operated since 1995 assuming that the Corps of Engineers had put that into the deed, and in the recent years we found out that that did not happen, and they did not do that. Now, the FAA and all the parties involved, they recognize that this was just an oversight and there was no malicious intent or anything like that. But at the end of the day, it is a requirement that this is preserved for wetlands, so we really don't have much of a choice.
I'll make a motion that we approve and authorize the county administrator to sign the Declaration of Covenants.
Moved and seconded. Any more discussion? Just this came to light a couple of years ago when the Children's Museum saw that piece of property. And they said, oh, we'd love to have that. It's right near the Owl's Head Transportation Museum. It's right near here, and we would love to build a facility there. And so we looked into it, and your interim predecessor looked into it, and he said, I don't know that they can do that. And he went through the paperwork and tried to find the covenant and couldn't find it. And then went back to the Army Corps and said, do you guys have this? And they said, no. And so everybody looked at that and said, oops. It's not that it was misplaced, it was just never filed. So it was sitting on the books as if we could use that piece of property, but thanks to Jeff Northgraves and his memory, this is the whole argument in favor of like an institutional memory, somebody who says, I don't remember that being that way, kind of thing. And so this is sort of the outflow from that at this point, which means that we can't use that piece of property or sell that piece of property. We have to keep the whole thing, But this goes back way back when before that, because this was tied up with the MD&A lands that were given to the county for the airport or for surrounding the airport. So, anything else? So it's just one more loose end that gets tied up. Thank you.
Yes.
All those in favor? 3 in favor, none opposed. And the last one we have here is an act to approve a transfer from the 2024 budget to reserves.
I'll make a motion that we approve the transfer from the 24 budget to reserves.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Would you?
Yeah, I'll kick it off and I'll have Kathy back me up if you have further questions. But essentially, we plan for certain retirements as people reach their age. We had one that didn't go through, so now we can put it back in the 2024 reserve.
Somebody didn't retire?
Let me expand
There
on
you go.
that.
Thank you.
Our process going into the budget is to look at anyone that is going to be of retirement age and do a projection if they retired at the end of that particular year, what would we be looking at for cost? We then look at what we have in our retirement reserve accounts to help offset that expense, and then we put in the budget 50% of that cost, just to prepare for people that may choose to retire. If we know someone's retiring, we budget that 100%, which this is just covering the ones that are potentially could retire or could stay with us another X amount of years. When we close the year or get close to closing the year, if the resignation and termination account has money remaining in it, and we had budgeted for someone to retire, that balance will go into a reserve account. We do have times that we do budget in that particular account for retirements, but yet the overall department doesn't have the available funds to make the transfer. So the account may have the funds, but the bottom line doesn't support it. So we had a couple of more, or at least one more retirement that we had budgeted that didn't happen, but the department didn't have the funds to allow the transfer into that retirement account.
So you're thinking ahead, which is,
We are thinking ahead,
Yeah.
and we're thinking ahead at a 50% capacity.
well, still, that's good.
Yes. So this is something we do every year.
Yeah.
Great. Makes sense.
Way better explanation. Thank you.
Anything else?
No?
We'll understand?
Yep.
All those in favor? 3 in favor, none opposed. Thank you, Kathy. Now, discussion items. County Administrator updates.
Yeah. Do you have project updates that you'd like to provide before?
Sure.
Yeah, sure. We
Yeah,
have,
before.
Oh,
That's
thank
okay.
goodness. I was wondering why they were here.
Is that okay to switch those?
I kept looking for something on the agenda, and I was calling them up here, and I couldn't find it. That's why I kept fumbling over this agenda. I kept looking for it. Thank you.
Ryan Lillich, Stantec Consulting Services, working with the airport manager here, Jacob, on the Knox County Regional Airport Master Plan update. So as of today, we have submitted the grant applications for both the state and federal level. The grants are expected, hopefully, May, June. We understand that, kind of turbulence that's going on right now, but we are expecting around that time frame. We're going to hold our first public information meeting, one of 5 meetings. We're going to start that. It's going to be Thursday, starting at 4 o'clock at the Outside Transportation Museum, just outside the airport itself. We're estimating between 12 to 18 months to complete the project overall for the master plan update. What we're going to examine is, infrastructure on the airport itself. What are the hangars? What are the conditions like? What do the aprons look like? If there are any issues on the runways, taxiways, taxi lanes, internal to the buildings as well, right? The terminal building itself. We're also going to look at safety to include obstructions, because those can be very hazardous. Design standards. We're going to look at capacity versus demand. So what the hangars, aprons, and taxi lanes look like now, what they can fulfill, and then what that looks like 20 years from now, right? As the airport is growing, and what those forecasting measures look like, and what do we see the airport needing beyond today. And then also looking at their navigation systems and procedures to include all the navigational aids, your weather systems, your approach systems, lighting systems, things like that. What we are not going to examine is any sort of change in the airport classification. The Knox County Regional Airport is going to stay a primary non-hub commercial service airport. We're not going to expand out and become Logan or all of a sudden or anything like that. Right? We're not going to look at runway length, lengthening the runway. We're not going to look at expanding the airport at all. We are going to have a pretty aggressive meeting schedule. We're going to be pretty much going to every APAC meeting that we can, June, July, September, October, again in January, March, June, right? So throughout the year, throughout the project itself, we're going to stay very close in touch with APAC, as well as hosting, as I said, 5 public information meetings. The next one we are forecasting to be in July, when we are finished up with our forecast of the master plan project itself. And then we are also going to be coming back here to the county commissioner's office regularly to give you guys updates on Our next one that we are projecting is going to be in September, after our facility requirements chapter has been written. And then we are also going to be doing multiple press releases. I believe in the scope of work we have 5 slated. The next one to be, again, to accompany the APAC public information meeting and a press release in July. And that is where we stand right now. Jacob, do you have anything you'd like to update?
No, not really. Yeah, we're going to have, I believe the minimum requirement for public information meetings is 3, but just as an attempt to be as transparent to the community as we possibly can, we're going to up that to 5, which is why it seems like a lot, but we just want to make sure that, especially me coming in from Georgia to an area that I'm new to the community, I just want to make sure that we have adequate, input from those that we serve.
I have a question for anybody that's, I was at the APEC meeting yesterday, learned a lot. For anybody that's watching, interested for the press perhaps, you talk a little bit about your company experience?
Yeah, so Stantec Consulting Company, we are global, right? So we handle any sort of construction and updates and engineering services across the board, whether it be transportation, buildings, water, energy, fuels, but also airports, right? So we work a lot of the airport infrastructures. We do this, again, globally. So we handle airports here in Maine, throughout the New England region quite regularly, southern United States, eastern, western, all throughout. So this is definitely within our wheelhouse. This is something we're very comfortable doing. We have a long-standing relationship with the airport itself. The airport management goes back a couple decades now, and so
Yeah, I just want people to know that you're not coming.
No, we're definitely not. We're located out of Portland, Maine, so we have a lot of personal investment, right? A lot of us either live in Wiscasset or nearby counties or nearby cities, rather. So this is a very personal touch to this. We want to see the airport succeed. We want to see the county succeed. We want to see the state succeed and continue to grow throughout, whether it's transportation or aviation or any of our other services that we're working with the state.
And just to be clear, the Stantec actually helped, prepare our previous master plan update back in 2005. That was early over there. So it's not like they're coming in, it's not like this process is new for this airport. They're familiar.
Perfect. Just what I want people to understand, that this is experience with both the airport and their business. They know what they're doing.
Yeah. Again, to reiterate Jacob's point on the multiple public information meeting, that's why we want to make sure that we're massaging this correctly and we're getting the correct words out and we're updating the local citizens and townships to understand that what we're doing is on behalf of the people. It's not necessarily.
And again, to remind, 4 o'clock on Thursday at Dallas Head.
4 o'clock on Thursday at Dallas Head.
At Dallas Head Transportation Museum for any of the public that wants to go and ask questions.
Listen.
Grants and deadlines.
Yes, sir.
Can you explain how those two things intertwine and what you're doing?
Yeah, so the grants for the master plan project itself for planning and construction grants, they're due by March 3rd at a federal level. And so we submit them along with our state grants themselves, and those have been submitted. They're going to be reviewed by the FAA, and they're going to come back to us, and then we're May, June, and we can start working on reimbursement grants and that kind of series of events.
If we don't get the grants, do we keep moving ahead?
Well, this is one of those that it is required by the FAA that the airport has to conduct a master plan update every 20 years. So even without the grant, if the requirement is still in place, we have to comply.
And does the FAA have a timeline that they give you, or is this a self-imposed timeline that we
No,
set
that is
to
a
them
part-
as part of the grant process?
Yeah, that's part of the grant process.
4 years.
Yep.
I apologize, Ryan. I'm Ryan's supervisor. I sent him up here all by himself to see how he can handle it. But he's doing great. But I'm Erwin Deck. I'm with Stantec. I've been with 25 years now. And I did develop the last master plan. In fact, Stantec started working for the airport before Jeff came aboard. So it's been going back quite a ways. But the grant application, the grant is funded through the Airport Improvement Program. We would not have gotten this far in the process if the FAA was not on board. Okay. The only drawback now is I don't say what's going on in Washington. We don't know what's going on. So we're assuming Congress will approve continuing resolution, which will include funding for the FAA and authorization to use the AIP to fund this project. So once a grant is issued, then we have 4 years. There's a 4-year limit on how long the grant can stay open. But we can typically finish this up. It's a very aggressive schedule, 12 to 18 months. Most likely it'll stretch out a little bit further for reasons that are beyond our control. It takes time for the FAA and the state to review documents and stuff like that. And their staff's being cut, so they're even more short-handed than we are. So, anyhow.
But so this process that you've laid out is something we've imposed on ourselves in terms of getting it in within the timeline that they expect.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
But there is some wiggle room that if we don't get it done exactly in 18 months.
Oh, no. That's just a self-imposed deadline. You give people an idea how long it takes. So.
Not because I want to make the observation that everything at the airport takes longer than we think it should, but
yeah, well, it's just master plan is a very labor-intensive project. It's 100% labor. It just takes a long time to go through the steps. The way it's developed. When we come back the next time, we'll give you an update on the current status at that point. At some point, Jacob will come back to this commission and ask for authorization for Amber to sign the airport layout plan, which becomes a technical blueprint for the airport. Okay. Andy signed the last one, and Amber I'm sure will be around in time to sign the next one. So.
about 2 years, you never know.
Yeah. I wish her well.
Anything else?
No.
Well, we have these gentlemen here before us. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
This is not a vote on anything, so this is just really information.
My updates.
Yes.
Okay. The first one is around our Maine Maine Resources Inc. Excuse me, Municipal Resources Inc. I'm going to get it. So MRI, we entered an agreement with them through ARPA money last year, and they're doing a full job description, compensation study, looking at our salary administration and policy classification plan and all of that. I believe the last time it was looked at was in 2011, so long overdue for this. All employees were provided an opportunity to review through their job description with their department manager, suggest any things that have changed over the years. So we're very deep in that project right now. We're getting the job descriptions back. We've got some great market data that we're working on. Primarily, Mike, our new HR manager, which I'll get to in a moment, our finance director and the sheriff have been kind of staying at the top of this before we trickle it down to departments. So that will be coming soon, but we're really excited about what they've shown us so far. We'll have it wrapped up over the summer so that we can prepare budget conversations in the fall. Questions?
This has been going on for a while.
I started it as a one-woman show to do it myself last year. But our finance director and I spoke, and we did have extra funds. And MRI had done it before for us. This process that we used versus the process we used in 2011 is much more involved. Every employee was given the opportunity to meet with them, to discuss with them. They've taken a lot more time out of their days to really dive into some issues that we've seen over the years. So it's kind of transformed from my project to now a more legitimate project with some recommendations and data backing points that we can provide to the Commission and Budget Committee.
And I missed it. What's the timeline?
So they should have all of their information to us by June or July. We'll have a cost impact well before that, so Finance Director and I can start to look through that. So right now we're working on the job descriptions, but yes, they should be done with their whole package to us with all of their recommendations by June or July this summer, so that we can sit down at the table and get that prepared to work into the budget as needed.
And two questions. One is, this will then funnel into some kind of a strategic plan. If we're working on a strategic plan with, with MECOG.
Yep. Put pieces of it, yes,
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep.
And one of the problems we've had is not just the job descriptions, was sort of how the pay scale works out with those job descriptions and how our steps align and all of that stuff. Will this look at all of that?
Yes.
So this could be quite a sweeping change if we go to approve this once this is done.
Correct. They understand that we have unions, they understand we have a budget committee, they understand we run on a budget with taxpayer dollars. So they're working with us with different cost impacts. Every financial question along the way has been run by, myself or Kathy, and so they're keeping us very involved. They'll share everything with us, and we'll present something that makes sense to us based on what that looks like.
Will this be an all or nothing, or will they have different options?
Yeah, probably some different options. We've talked about phasing some things in. If it is a really big impact, do we do 50% this year, 50% 2027? What makes sense? What is it only impacting a couple of departments? Can we just look at those and maybe everybody else is fine? So that's kind of what we're sorting through now, and we'll prioritize and figure out what that looks like.
Thank you. Other stuff?
Okay. Commissioner Hind had mentioned it earlier, but we did meet with Matthew Eady from McCog. He shared with us something similar he's doing in Saginaw County as far as the strategic plan. It does take time, but I think we've kind of chatted offline a little bit about scheduling some meetings coming up soon to start to look at what that looks like. The first step would be doing a SWOT analysis, so figuring out where the county stands so that we know what to build it from. So I believe in April sometime we'll be sitting down with Matthew Eady from McCog and diving into that project. I don't want it to be a rushed project, but I think starting the conversation is important. He says it can take anywhere up to 5 years, which if it does, it's great. We want to do it the right way. So I think all of that will kind of tie together nicely, because as we start those conversations, we'll get the MRI feedback in June, July, and then we'll have it all by the end of the year if we need to make anything. We do recognize our employees who have hit 5-year milestones or a factor of 5, so 5, 10, 15, etc. That'll be coming in April, so we'll have some employees here that we'll recognize. I'll invite any peers or partner supervisors to acknowledge them as well, just a heads up on that. I believe everyone's seen Elizabeth over in the corner. Elizabeth has been so gracious to come over during Wendy's transition and help us with some administrative tasks. So her and Wendy have been working together just to keep things running here in the administrative office. We're very grateful to have her. So just a heads up to everybody. And on that note, I mentioned Mike, our new HR manager, earlier. I'll formally introduce him. He's in the back out there. He just dove right in. And I don't know if you want to say anything. You don't have to.
I'll just say I'm happy to be here. We have some exciting projects going on, and I believe we have the team in place to help move the county forward and hopefully become an employer of choice sooner than later.
Welcome.
You didn't have to drive very far to get here, though. It's not like we brought you up from Georgia.
No. I rode my bike.
Awesome. And you stole it from me earlier, Commissioner Ratner, but I did want to just publicly thank all of our public safety officials, everyone from our sheriff's office to our correctionals. We have some people from our investigatory unit, law enforcement, other agencies who are stepping up, rescheduling things to help us out in the communications center. Very grateful for all of that. But I do want to highlight that Bob Coombs and Josiah Winchenbach have been coordinating all of that, coordinating their schedules and figuring out when they can work to piece it all together. And it is a puzzle. They have been working 5 to 7 days per week just so there's some consistency. They're training new people. They're going above and beyond. So I just want to make sure that they are thanked. We really appreciate that from them. And to both of your points, Commissioner Ratner and Commissioner Hind, I think we do have the momentum where we're getting to a good place. And lastly, I'll just mention that we are scheduling a joint budget and commission meeting, a quarterly one, just to kind of talk about last year, talk about some upcoming projects, statuses, and at that point we will look to vote in some recommendations that we've received. I know you were made aware of Roger Peabody's from Warren. We also received one from St. George. So we'll make sure that they're invited to that meeting, and I'll confirm the date as soon as I can.
I just wonder if you might publicly mention the openings that still exist on the budget committee.
Sure, yes. So the last openings we have are 2 for the Rockland seats and 1 for the seat in Rockport.
Thank you.
Have we written to the towns that are open? Have we written to Rockland and said, come on, guys?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
For all these people like Bob and you and the sheriff and Kathy who work more than your normal hours, do we factor that into the 5-year mark? I mean, so that you can work, if you're working twice as many hours, if you get an award at 2.5 years instead? Because it seems like, we're putting a lot of extra hours and extra years on everybody.
Now, wait a minute, the problem is, they might be ready for retirement already, so Kathy, have you figured that out?
As he's saying that, I'm like, I should be long gone.
I just want to make sure they get the sweatshirt and the cup and the gift card. Yeah.
No, but on a serious note, as we're not looking at the exact staffing and what we need at this point. We want to make sure we have each department set, but we are looking at succession planning. We are starting to dive into that. We're having a sidebar conversation with a couple of departments to make sure, right, if somebody like the finance director, Kathy, left, what happens? Where does that knowledge go? Do we have those things in place? So that's kind of an extra thing that MRI is working on with us to dive into those things.
We've talked about this before, that, we've been through a couple of crises over the last couple of years that shift everything from what is normal. But even when we're normal, there are a few positions that you're looking at that are working more hours than they should be for the health of an employee, just to get the work done that they need to get done. And so looking at how many more employees we need, whether they're full-time, part-time, or split between 2 or 3 different departments, we need to look at that because we really want to find a way that employees aren't working that many extra hours just to get the job done that we need them to do. Yeah.
One problem, do we have the ability as the commission to ensure that some people, say the finance director or the county business director, are not allowed to retire?
No, but
I mean, there need to be some conditions here for...
That's true.
you can request a contract.
Anything else? Is there anything
I think
we
we're
need
good.
to discuss?
No.
Anything that you feel? Anything from the peanut gallery? Anything? There's nothing else that's going to come before the commission. We do have a meeting at 3:15 this afternoon, which is just long enough for us to run around, which is an executive session. But we will start it like this as a regular meeting. But if there's nothing further to come before the commission, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. I don't think there's anything else, so all those in favor? 3 in favor and opposed.